A pre-Christmas journey was ours, so behold, from weather to pleasure, our travel felt bold. We ventured from Florida, our stay near expired, and on into Georgia. But why, you inquired? We're starting our loop. It's early, we know. Nevertheless, it's time that we go. We flew back to Titusville a couple of weeks before Christmas. Here you can see Tom hauling our ginormous pack of gear back to Molly. The weather was pretty dicey, with big wind gusts up to 20 and 30 knots, and my forecast showed that a storm was on its way. We were sound asleep when suddenly the bilge alarm was going off.
So the bilge pump going on at 3 in the morning and not shutting off is something that really got our attention. It got us woke up. Why was the bilge pump turned on and not shutting off? It was a little piece of plastic stuck next to the impeller in the bilge pump. It only took several hours to remove.
One day I came back to find Tom lying face down on the dock, and so I was really puzzled to see what he was looking at, which here it is. Turns out it was a pair of manatees hanging out, getting themselves something to drink.
Yeah, when you see them out in the water, the tail barely comes out of the water.
Yeah, I've never seen that much of one before. They always just see their snout come up or their tail barely come up or something.
Since we were at Titusville, of course, we were lucky enough to be able to see another one of Elon Musk's Starlink launches. This is much more exciting than what you see in the footage, but it's really something to see. Finally, after 3 days and one wickedly windy night, I got comfortable enough to let Tom leave Titusville. So we hopped into the boat and set off down the ICW. We were sad to say goodbye to Titusville. It had really been a fantastic stay. We motored from Titusville on up to Daytona Beach. This barge looks like it was full of gigantic pilings, I guess. We think probably this was something where they were rebuilding a dock or a pier because of Ian. We got ashore and managed to experience a little bit of Christmas in Florida. From Daytona Beach, we traveled next to St. Augustine, where I had secured us a dockage for the night at Fish Camp Marina. Here's the dock that we were docking at. I thought this was going to be really easy because it was right on the river, and it seemed like we'd be able to just motor up and slide over and secure the boat and turn the engine off. But it didn't work out that way, because as we got close in, we discovered we were in a ferocious current. And even though we had help, I was at the helm operating the thrusters, and the stern thruster failed and the boat pivoted from the nose out into the river again, but eventually we got it secured and all was well. That night, we were peacefully a-snooze in our bed when suddenly we we awoke to the sound of some electrical device buzzing away. Fortunately, it turned out to be something trivial. We'd been waked, and something had fallen in the engine compartment and hit the on switch for the oil changer pump. We went back to bed and tried to get some sleep. Now what? Well, we finally got some sleep. The next morning, we set out for our final leg on the water for this leg of our trip. We motored past St. Augustine's famous fort and on under the Lions Bridge. There was a lot of dredging action in the channel, and this had gotten the seagulls pretty excited. These seagulls seemed to be having a lot of fun. We began to travel across the inlets that lead out to the Atlantic Ocean. Here you can see a deep water port. So it was about this time that Tom renewed his pitch for us to take the boat out one of the inlets and into the Atlantic Ocean so that we could perhaps experiment with the idea of going through the deep water up to our destination in Brunswick, Georgia. Along with deep water, this part of the loop is also notorious for having shallows. Here at the mouth of Amelia Island, the water level was 0. We nearly grounded the boat several times as we pulled into this harbor. The next morning, we barely made it past the shoaling outside of Amelia Island Marina. Tom had had enough. Into the Atlantic we went. You know, as I look at this footage now, this doesn't look like it was any kind of a wild ride. And it really wasn't, but the swells were getting bigger and bigger, and the wind was getting stiffer and stiffer. And, you know, our boat does pretty well when it's cutting into the waves, but when we have to turn to run up the coast and be rocked side to side, that can be, I don't know, I guess I would describe it as sort of sick-making. So anyway, Tom decided to turn us around and take us back to the shallow water. Came back in and headed up the ICW, meandering towards our final stop, St. Simon's Island. After a few ups and downs, we settled Molly into her temporary slip at St. Simon's Island in Georgia. What a great spot to land.
On the 5th day of Christmas, my airline gave to me 5 pre-boards, 4 heavy bags, 3 upgrades, 2 check bags, and a passenger with a pet fee.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.